We will delve deeply into 7 behaviors that fundamentally change my, yes, you heard that life can be over in just 1 week. I realize it sounds almost like 1 week. It seems too wonderful to be true, but I can assure you, these are not your typical ones. Advice you hear all the time, these are true, raw, and honest practices that I personally integrated into my daily routine. I went through the hardships, the discoveries, victories, and the change I went through was insignificant, short of incredible, which I am eager to share. These are with you since they've had such a significant influence on my life, and I feel they can do the same for you, whether you're trying to increase your productivity enhances mental well-being, or simply make a constructive adjustment to these routines can benefit you in your daily life. Get there, so grab a cup of coffee, let's get cozy and dive right in. I promise you'll want to stay. To the end, due to these behaviors are not merely hypothetical, they are useful, doable actions that you can begin putting into practice today. And I'll be relating a few personal tales and providing you with insights from my own journey, a candid and unvarnished examination of how my habits worked. Therefore, I didn't need to. Let's begin habit 1, waking, Ado. Getting up early was the first routine that altered my let me be since life was rising up early. To be perfectly honest, I was an early riser, and my bed was my best friend. And I used to punch the snooze button more times than I can count. Mornings were a frantic rush, and I often felt like I was starting my day on the wrong foot. Yet I decided to give getting up early a shot, and let me tell you, it was a game changer. I started by setting my alarm for 5 a.m. The first 4 days were awful. I remember dragging myself out of bed, felt sluggish, and wondering whether this was truly worthwhile. But I persevered, and by the third day, something amazing started to occur. I started to value stillness and silence in the early morning hours. There was something almost magical about being up before the rest of the world, when all was quiet and tranquil. With these additional hours spent in the morning, I found time for things I never seemed to have time for before I began my day with some light exercise, nothing too strenuous, just a little stretching or going for a quick run around this not only woke me up in the neighborhood, but also gave me energy for the remainder of the day. I also spent some time meditating and setting my intentions for the day. These few moments of mindfulness made a huge difference in my overall mindset and productivity. Another surprising benefit of waking up early was that I no longer felt rushed. I had plenty time to enjoy a wholesome breakfast while leisurely sipping my coffee. I scheduled my day with this leisurely beginning, established a constructive tone for the day, was less anxious, more structured, and had a stronger feeling of command over. I had a personal experience at one point that particularly noteworthy was the morning I observed the sunrise from my balcony. It was a simple yet tremendously lovely moment as the sky changed colors and the earth slowly woke up. I felt a tremendous sense of appreciation and tranquility. It was in that moment when I truly understood the power of waking up early now. Waking up early might not be for everyone, but I strongly advise you to try it, even if it's only for a short while. The week began only 15 minutes earlier. Beyond the time you typically wake up and progressively raise it, you could be shocked by the extent of the positive it can affect your life. But it's not simply put more hours in the day, however, about making use of those hours to develop a more purposeful, thoughtful, and satisfying, begin your second daily habit. Exercise, referring to daily workouts. Exercise was the second habit that really transformed my life. Now, let me be upfront. I wasn't always the most active person. I used to find every excuse in the book to avoid working out. I'm too tired, I don't have time, or I'll start tomorrow. Sound familiar? But one day I decided enough was enough. I made a commitment to move my body every single day for a week, and the results were incredible. I started small, just 20 minutes a day, mixing it up between yoga, jogging, and strength training. I wanted to keep it interesting so I wouldn't get bored and quit. Halfway through, the first few days were rough, my muscles were sore, and I felt fatigued, but I reminded myself why I was doing this: to feel better, both physically and mentally. By the fourth day, something remarkable happened. I woke up feeling more invigorated. My mood had improved substantially. I was less irritable and more upbeat. I learned that those 20 minutes of exercise were not simply around burning calories or developing muscle. They were about giving myself time to focus on me, to release stress, and to increase my. We frequently make sacrifices to show our loved ones how much we care. Yet occasionally they let us down by exploiting our generosity for their own benefit. They may appear amiable when they are in need, but as soon as they get what they desire, they disappear like a bird in flight. How can we take back control of these circumstances? Today we explore 9 important facets of male-female interaction, drawing from the timeless Stoic philosophy. By avoiding these 9 behaviors, we can quickly observe positive changes in our relationships and empower ourselves in the process. Therefore, if you are having relationship problems, take a seat, open your mind, and let's go on this enlightening journey together. Before we start, make sure to hit the subscribe button and enable notifications so you never miss any of our upcoming explorations. Let's start with number 1. Don't change your life to fit a template. Don't change your life to suit other people's needs. When you try to live up to others' expectations, it feels like you're trying to put together a puzzle with pieces that don't fit together, which leads to frustration and confusion at every turn. As Seneca once said, everywhere means nowhere. Attempting to do too much at once leaves you feeling disoriented and uncertain of your direction. Instead, try to stand out like a shining star in the night sky and be proud of your uniqueness and identity. It's time to take charge of your life and follow your own path. Don't let other people tell you how to live it. Keep in mind that you are the author of your own life, not someone else's, so show off your genuine self and use your purpose and sincerity to paint the world. Second, avoid ruining your life. Avoid ruining your life by becoming overly fixated on someone. When you focus too much on someone else, it's easy to lose sight of your own dreams and what makes you unique. Rather than pursuing your own goals and aspirations, you find yourself continuously attending to their needs and desires, neglecting your own thirst for fulfillment, as the wise say. When you get too caught up in someone else's world, it throws you off balance, dragging you into the shadows and robbing you of your sense of value. Break free from their grip and stop being a mere satellite to their planet. Your life isn't a supporting act in someone else's story. Marcus Aurelius once said that there is nowhere a man can find a quieter or more trouble-free retreat than in his own soul. Never forget that you are the main character in the star of your own journey, and don't allow anyone to lessen your brilliance. Keep your happiness and mental health intact. Anything that undermines your happiness or mental well-being. Putting someone else's happiness ahead of your own mental health is like turning off your flashlight, leaving you bewildered and stumbling when you put someone else's wants ahead of your own. Your mental health and happiness are priceless assets that shouldn't be compromised or traded away, rather than serving as supporting characters in someone else's story. If you do this, you're effectively giving up control of your own happiness, and instead of finding fulfillment, you end up in a cycle of trying to please them while your own spirit plummets. Take center stage and take the lead in your own narrative. Defend your inner joy and tranquility with unyielding resolve. Become more resilient and don't let anyone take away your joy. You are the only one with control over your thoughts, and you may influence your own course in life. The fourth, avoid pressuring friends. 4. It's like cutting off branches from the tree that supports you. Each friend and family member is like a branch that has always been there to help you. If you start pushing them away, you're not only losing friends, but also weakening the support system that has been there for you. Therefore, don't push friends or family away for someone else, or keep your distance from them just because you're really into someone else. When you distance yourself from your loved ones in order to win someone else's approval, you're choosing a difficult path. Take the initiative to rekindle those important relationships. Plato once said that people are like dirt. They can either nourish you and help you grow as a person, or they can stunt your growth and make you wilt and die. Take care of your network of support. Your friends and family make an irreplaceable network serving as your bedrock and source of strength. Embrace the persistent partners who have stood by you through thick and thin. Number 5, don't invest too much. 5. Avoid spending too much time with them. Time spent with them. Don't waste all of your valuable time on someone else's endless well of need. Doing so would be like throwing your most valuable possession into a dark abyss. Myself, my desires, my fears, my strengths. Considering my flaws, it became a form of therapy, a method to disentangle the complex web of ideas and feelings that we all carry about. It gave a protected area place I could be entirely honest with myself without fear of condemnation. If you've never tried journaling, I highly urge you to begin and not be concerned about writing flawlessly or possessing deep. Just write whatever comes to mind. Keep in mind that it might be a flow of awareness, a summary of your day, or thoughts on a particular incident provide. Give yourself the liberty to say whatever you want. You may be shocked at what you're feeling, how much peace and clarity it provides into your life. Keep in mind that it isn't about your writing focuses on the procedure of writing itself as a mindful eating habit. Mindful eating was the next big thing. One for myself since, like a lot of individuals, I used to eat while on the go for very little money. Attention to what or how much I was consuming my meals were often rushed and distracted. Affairs eaten while scrolling through my phone or working on my laptop, I didn't understand how much this was impacting my entire well-being, till I decided to give mindful eating a try for 1 week. Mindful eating is all about paying complete attention to the experience of eating and drinking, both inside and outside the body. It's about relishing each mouthful, noticing the flavors, textures, and even the noises of your food. So I made a commitment to eat all my meals mindfully. I started by setting the scenario for my meals. I cleared my dining table, made a beautiful area for myself, and removed no TV, no phone, no distractions laptop. It initially felt a little odd to, I eat in silence, yet it goes by fast. Became a soothing practice that I started every taking a few deep breaths to center while eating myself and shift my attention to the here and now. One of the first things I observed at that moment was the extent to which I relished my meal. Spent time thoroughly tasting and savor every bite. Items that I had consumed hundreds of times before unexpectedly had a fresh, pleasant taste and consistency that I have never truly observed. For instance, the crunch of fresh veggies and the sweetness of ripe fruit became more noticeable. It was similar to having a food high. Definition, yet another significant shift was how after meals, I felt much more content. I gave my all by eating thoughtfully and slowly. When it was full, body time to signal. This was a significant change for me because I used to eat rapidly and frequently ended up overindulging by observing my signs of hunger and fullness that I discovered. I felt more and ate less contented. One noteworthy instance was typically I start with a plain cup of oatmeal, would devour it without hesitation. Thinking, but I went more slowly this time, enjoying the smooth consistency of the honey's delicate sweetness that I drizzled. Additionally, it turned into a time of appreciation and awareness that create a constructive atmosphere. For the remainder of the day, I also began to observe how various cuisines affected my mood. Consuming a lot of processed food made me feel bloated and slow, yet fresh and whole. Food gave me a sense of lightness and energy. Because of this insight, I made healthier decisions instinctively without feeling lacking or constrained. An additional facet of mindful eating is understanding the emotional ties. I became aware of the food we have. I was eating because I was bored and stressed, or comfort on an emotional level instead of truth. This awareness of hunger was potent. Rather than idly munching, I could deal with the underlying feeling. Perhaps I needed a rest, some time to relax, or a conversation. Not with a bag of chips, but with a friend. There was a specific night when I felt the need to eat something sweet after dinner. Rather than arriving automatically, I stopped for dessert and wondered if, was I really hungry? Or was I just looking for a, after following a long day, I discovered I wasn't truly hungry and chose a, rather than a hot cup of herbal tea. It was a tiny triumph that demonstrated how powerful mindful eating can be. Incorporating mindful eating into my life was a transforming experience. Hence, it helped me establish a healthy relationship with food, improved my digestion, and even increased my overall sense of well-being. It's a habit that I've continued beyond the initial week, and I can't suggest it enough if you're interested in trying. Mindful eating begins with just one meal a day. Sit down without distractions. Take a few deep breaths and savor each bite. Pay attention to the flavors, textures, and way the meal affects your mood. You could be surprised at how this easy practice can completely alter the way you eat. It's a nice method to reconnect with your body and genuinely appreciate the nourishment that food offers. Habit 5. The fifth screen time limitation behavior is restricting screen time. This particular one was quite difficult for me, and I think it may be for a lot of you as the digital environment in which we live it's really simple to become caught up in endless hours of binge scrolling on social media, viewing television, or responding to emails. But I recognize that all of this time spent on screens was negatively impacting my mental well-being, my efficiency, as well as my sleep. So I choose to establish certain limits and observe. First, I established a daily limit of 1 hour for screen time not related to work. This prevented mindless scrolling, no never-ending YouTube marathons on Instagram, and no TV late-at-night binges. Initially, it was difficult for me to groan, so used to completing each and every screen time in my spare time. But I knew first I had to make an adjustment. I became aware of how much more time I had in my life. I was unaware of how much of my time was spent in front of screens. Until I purposefully restricted it with those extra hours that I discovered reviving past interests, and I chose hobbies I had ignored. Picking up a book I'd been intent on reading, began drawing and doodling once more, and even attempted to cook something fresh. Recipes one night rather than watching TV. I made the decision to go for a walk after supper. The park's clean air and the sounds of nature and the straightforward act of relocating my body felt really revitalizing. It stood in sharp contrast to I experienced the typical screen-induced sluggishness. That stroll turned into a treasured memory of my daily routine, something I eagerly anticipated went and thoroughly enjoyed another. My sleep had changed significantly. I used to bring my phone to bed because of its quality, browsing social media or viewing films till I was tired. But I frequently felt wired because of this behavior, and restless, which results in inadequate sleep by restricting screen time. Particularly prior to, it was much simpler for me to wind down in bed. When drift off to sleep, I established a bedtime procedure without the use of screens, reading a real book, practicing meditation, or just thinking back on my day. This transformation led to more comfortable, deeper sleep and made a significant impact on my overall energy levels that I also saw enhancements to my mental well-being. Without the never-ending stream of news updates, similarities between social media and digital diversion, I felt more present and less nervous, was more attentive when speaking, more mindful of others around me, and more involved in my everyday tasks. It was as though a fog had dissipated, enabling me to have a clearer perspective on the experience of life. One day that stands out in particular is when I was at a local place, all afternoon cafe with only a pen and a notebook. I jotted down my ideas and made some plans, and even did some sketching. It was really calm and effective time away from digital disruptions, made me feel more linked to both myself and my environment in a manner never possible with displays. Naturally, there were times when slips and temptations along the way, but every time I saw myself grabbing for habit of using my phone, I gently reminded myself of the advantages I was encountering and shifting my attention to something more satisfying. Restricting screen time has nothing to do with removing technology entirely from your life. You must create a better equilibrium and being more making deliberate use of your time. If you're feeling overburdened or alienated, urge you to attempt setting up some screens. Time limits begin modestly, perhaps with a daily reduction of 1 hour, and progressively raise it and use the additional time to get back in touch with your loved ones and yourself. And the surroundings, you may be shocked to learn how much a fuller, more satisfying existence can be when you take a break from screens and interact with the real world more. Okay, everyone, that concludes our trip through the 7 routines that profoundly altered my life in a single. It's been an amazing experience this week, not only putting these practices into practice, but I'm also sharing each of these with you. Habits have the ability to produce substantial improvements in your lives, and in my opinion, if they could be able to work for me, they could anyone who has been motivated by any of I encourage you to try these behaviors. Out for yourself, begin modestly, perhaps with one habit, and observe how it changes, based on what works for your lifestyle, and must keep in mind that the objective it's about progress and perfection. Making minor, doable adjustments that build up to a significant changes over time, I'd love to. Please share your experiences with us. Leave a remark below describing which behavior you're considering adoption, or any queries you may have regarding beginning. Your comments and tales are what really make. This community is incredibly kind and encouraging. And whether this video was useful to you, remember to hit like, subscribe, and that alert bell to ensure you don't miss. We have a ton of content for any future releases. More information and advice is on the way. You won't want to forget to share this video with relatives or friends who could gain from these behaviors. Could also significantly impact their lives. I sincerely appreciate you viewing, and keep in mind that little adjustments lead to big ones. Outcomes, let's continue to develop and progress, can transform our daily activities into strong times of improvement of oneself. See you in the next video. Everyone, stay amazing.